So we're back temporarily. I will explain in very vague terms because there's public statements on our website. Whatever. Stardock had a little technical hiccup last weekend during something that we were doing, and we had to roll back and whatever else. So I had to go to the office to help clean up that mess. Mess is 50% cleaned up, so there's going to be no podcast Tuesday through Thursday, but I should be back Friday, and hopefully we'll be closer to 100% cleanup, and then life goes on. I will tell you, Paul Thurrott, though, since this is a personal tech news website, personal tech news update. First off, so 16 Pro or whatever, I gotta tell you, there's things that there are things that I do not like about this phone, and it's not Apple Intelligence.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. Just real quick, this is interesting to me because you're coming from an iPhone, right?
Yep.
So my deal is, I kind of go back and forth between the platforms, and I've been kind of wrestling with this because there are things about the iPhone I find really irritating. And what happens over time for me is eventually those irritants get in the way so much that I just go to Pixel for a while. And then as soon as I get on Pixel, I'm like, there's these other things I can't stand. So there's nothing perfect, right? But okay. All right, for you.
You ready?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the software. So let's start with the buttons on the side. So coming from a person who did not have 3 buttons, now has 3 buttons, it's very hard for my brain to go, I need to turn the volume up. You find the top button on the side and you start tapping it because they are so close together. Yes, they're different size.
No, I did the same because you do it by feel. You're
just like, oh, that's the top button, volume up. Like, that button should have been down here somewhere, like completely out of the way. Ooh, as I drop my phone, it's good for it. The other thing too, so first off, the camera button is kind of terrible.
Yes, it is.
So first off, I turned off all of the stupid swipe gestures because they just get in the way of anything you're actually trying to do. The problem is if you're like, I don't know, 99% of humans on planet Earth and you put a case on your phone,
right?
It's recessed down in there.
Yeah,
so it's actually kind of a pain in the butt to use in a way that you would think, like if they would have done this, I don't know, the same thing they did with all the other buttons where they protrude up. Now someone's going to say, but Brad, you just said you don't muscle memory. But look, it's far enough down that it would have been fine. But like, it's...
So here's the problem. And I was just looking at this literally over the weekend. There's a feature now in this phone called visual intelligence.
Yes.
And the way you activate it, I think it's the only way. I could be wrong. Maybe
I think it
is to hold that thing in, that camera control button thing.
Yep.
I don't know, in Android, I don't know that I don't even know how you do. It doesn't really matter. But I know when you're viewing a photo, there's a lens icon for Google Lens, and that will kind of give you that thing, right? Same type of thing. Visual intelligence is not useful when you're walking around your house, or whatever. But being out in the world like I am, we're away here and we're seeing things that are new to us and everything, and like being able to point at something and find out what it is, etc. Super. It's actually, it's useful.
Yeah, but that's fine. But we're talking about hardware.
But my point was, I don't think like my reaction to camera control is a lot like yours. Like I find it just kind of gets in the way. But for that thing, it's kind of the way to do it. You know what I mean? Anyway, okay.
Sorry. Anyways, those are my big gripes, is that the buttons that they've added are not super easy to just kind of use. The phone's fine otherwise, but...
So what do you use the action button for?
I'm showing my age. Look, I will show you right here.
Yeah.
Yoink.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, it's curious. See, to me, there is well, you could change this, I guess, but you can, by default, there's a... what do you call it? Flashlight icon right on the...
There is. There's also a camera icon too, which makes the camera button even more useless, and it's hard to press.
Well, I mean, to be fair to Apple, those things can be changed by the user. Like you can configure those buttons. I don't know. So we haven't talked in a while, and I compiled a list of all of the news stories we didn't cover while you were gone. I just wanted to rattle through these.
I wasn't done talking about personal tech news.
Okay. I was just kidding. I don't have a list. Go on. Yes.
I'm now a proud user of a Copilot Plus PC.
Ooh, which one?
So Surface Pro 7 with an Intel chip. Or not Pro 7, laptop
I was
7.
gonna say, I got bad news for you, man. Okay, Surface Pro 10 with an Intel chip. Okay, and this
No,
is
it's not. It's the laptop. It's the whatever the latest Surface laptop is
Surface
for
Laptop
business.
7.
Yeah, with an Intel
With
chip.
oh no, sorry, they probably actually did they change the? They might call it Surface Pro 8. Whatever they call it. Okay, but the Intel version. Is it? This is the one that just came out, right? So this is hopefully
I'm pretty sure it's 7.
Lunar Lake. Do you even know? I don't even. I
Maybe
should
it's
know
8.
this. I don't really
Whatever.
pay attention.
Surface
So
whatever it is.
those are, ideally Microsoft would use AMD for these things because the AMD chips are like off the charts better, but the Intel stuff is better than it used to be for sure. And did you get a 13 or a 15?
It's a 13.
Yeah.
I will tell you that.
You've had these before. I mean, it's not like this is.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is I'm actually replacing my desktop upstairs with it because I was trying to figure out, like, hey, is this thing faster than my desktop, which was 5 years old at this point? And the answer is that it's about 40% faster. So
Wow.
it's also 14 cores. The other one was 10 cores, 20 threads. So there's some just natural benefit of having more cores. I know they're not all the performance cores or whatever.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Interesting. Okay.
I spun up Recall, and it immediately doesn't work. So that's going well. You open it, it's like getting started with Recall. It needs an update. You hit try update, and then it just fails and then closes. So
I think I've said this to you before, and probably privately, and I apologize for doing this publicly. But you guys really, 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 really need to make a File Explorer replacement.
So we've talked about this. The problem is there's too many of them out there. And
yeah, but the other problem is they all suck.
Yeah.
So you I know you have. So there's a thing called Files.
Yep.
Beautiful, right? This thing is garbage. It is, and no, the reason I can say that with such certainty is that it performs worse than File Explorer. That requires effort. Like I don't know how it's possible, but it's slower. And there are just like features missing from File Explorer that I actually use all the time, like this type of thing where you hover over a file and you get to see how big it is or whatever those things are. Like there's a bunch of little things like that, but really it's the performance. It's also this thing where you multi-select files to drag them somewhere, and it only takes the first one, and it kind of adds up. So I had put it. In fact, it's still on this particular computer as the default file manager application, and I got rid of it on my Surface laptop, which is the Snapdragon version. And now File Explorer crashes all the time. And I lose the taskbar goes away. I've never seen this problem, but obviously it's related to this stupid files thing I put on there. And I am begging you. I mean, I'll fund it myself. I will actually pay for the development.
So there's another File Explorer app that's new, but it's like $100 or something.
Yeah.
And that's like,
what's it called?
I can't even remember the name of it, to be honest.
I'm also just distractedly noticing that the volume of my microphone keeps going down. So if you're listening to this podcast, my voice volume has gone up. It's going down as I talk. It's crazy. I don't want that
on the
to
Titanic
ever happen.
over there.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to. How do I make that not do that? Anywho, yeah. Anyway, so you're saying this is another one. I mean, there's a lot of other ones, right?
Yeah,
but this is a new one.
Like the problem with us doing a File Explorer, it's not that we couldn't do it. Well, there's a lot of reasons we know why performance sucks. Some of it has to do just how Windows indexes files, and then that lookup is not performant, and there's sketchy things about trying to change that, but that doesn't matter. Okay. It's like if you're gonna do a File Explorer, you got to do a File Explorer, and then that's a dedicated engineer every day of their life doing File Explorer until the sun explodes, because that thing is a messy beast of functionality.
You know, I'm gonna experiment with this as soon as I get off this call. There's these registry changes you can make to bring back the old version of File Explorer.
Yeah,
and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's at least Windows 10, but it might even go back to Windows 7 for all I know. But it's weird how the non-WinUI versions of File Explorer feel lightweight now.
Yes.
Yep. And I might just do that because I just can't deal with stuff not working. Like this is so basic, So I've been over the weekend, all weekend, I worked on updating the book I'm doing with my wife, and not every time, but 90 something percent of the time, I dragged a file from one place to another. The screen would flash, all my windows would disappear. It happened so much. I now have 3 shortcuts to locations I need right on my desktop because it's just going to crash. Like I'm going to lose them. And thanks, files. It's just like, I can't deal with this.
Yep. No, I get it. I mean, building the start menu replacement has just been
I'm sure it's an ongoing nightmare, really.
yeah, because there's a billion users with a billion different use cases, and if you're not appeasing that, then it's
right.
Your app sucks, and it's like no, like
yeah.
Anyways,
yeah. Yep, yeah, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
How's Finder doing these days? He says half jokingly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think the grass is greener.
Yeah, I don't think so. In fact,
side.
I'm pretty sure I just looked and it was on fire. So
yeah,
I'm sure it's.
Turns
bad.
out this is a hard computer science problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it is.
So, whenever OneNote for Windows 10 finally dead, that was a great experiment that confused a lot of people.
I feel like Microsoft this year has decided in the client space that they're going to see how pissed off they can make people, right?
Yeah.
We got the new Outlook. We got OneNote's going away. They're jamming Copilot down our throats in every way imaginable. Like it's almost like their announcement. Like they go through a team of people. Like they vet these things, right? But now there's a guy on the team who's like, nope, it's not aggravating enough. Let's try to upset as many people as we can. So how can we make it worse? And there's no one would read this. It's not actually that interesting, but the history of OneNote is fascinating in a way. And part of that story is the way they, like after 2016, that version of Office, they were like, all right, OneNote for Windows 10 is going to be the version. That's it. That's what we're doing. And it was probably tied to that Office. Yeah, this thing just my volume keeps going down. It's so weird. The modern Office they did, remember briefly, for Windows 10.
Yep.
And then they were like, just kidding. It was about 18 months or 2 years. They added new features to it and not to the other one. And then they were like, we're bringing it back. And then after a while, they were like, we're not just bringing it back. It's going to be the new. It's going to be the new client. This is where the new features are going to be.
Yeah, OneNote for a brief period of time was like the forefront of Microsoft app evolution technologies, and boy, did that not work out well for them.
Yeah, this goes back. That's that's part of the story. So when Microsoft was doing Windows 8, they went to the Office team. They're like, obviously, you're going to make like a modern client using Metro, right? And they were like, nope. They were working on an iPad app. But they're like, well, we can give you OneNote. We'll do OneNote. We'll do one app. Well, actually, I think there were 2 originally. I don't remember what the other one was, but and OneNote became the poster child for a couple of things. But remember, it had that radial menu that was context sensitive, right? Yeah. So obviously, that would work best with a pen, but it would work with a mouse or touch, probably, whatever. And it was, it was unique and different, and it was kind of, it was innovative, but by the time they got to 10, they were doing this simplified ribbon thing for Metro or Universal apps, and that went away, But I'm not saying it was the UI of the future. I don't mean like that, but it was, they were trying. Like they were like, all right, so we have this kind of limited platform, to work with. Like, what can we do? And they came up with something. Honestly, it was pretty. Again, like I'm not saying it was the future. I mean, it isn't clearly, but they came up with something unique. And I bet for pen users, especially all 8 of them, no, I was probably pretty great.
No, I was as you were saying that at the time. I mean, Microsoft has really pulled back on their touchscreen ambitions. Yeah, everything is touch enabled or whatever, but like touch interfaces and all that stuff has really just kind of melted into the background. But for a brief moment of time, they were really trying to just figure things out. And that's, in hindsight, is more interesting than where they landed now.
Yeah. Well, I pragmatically, I think they scaled back because most PCs remained not desktop PCs, but desktops, like laptops, like not, the primary interface has never really changed. It's touchpad, keyboard, whatever. and that stuff just isn't optimal, for that audience. And I don't know. There was a lot of time too with OneNote, especially, but not just OneNote, all the Office stuff where they would update on iPad, iPhone, Android, and there'd be this mix of features. Like some would be here, some would be here, and it was probably a little bit easier to do common UIs across those mobile platforms, including the WinRT stuff, at first. But I don't know. Yeah, then I haven't looked at OneNote, whatever the new version is called, whatever OneNote is now, the desktop version. I use Notion, but
Yep.
I suspect what I would see is the same ribbon as always, like the old fashioned UI. It's like it's a desktop tool.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Well.
All right, so that was one of the 110 things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's gonna. We'll bring this back up in July when we're dying.
I'll tell you what. I'll send you the list via email, and then you could just do it offline.
Is that list just going to be your RSS feed? Because that would be.
It's basically an emoticon of my middle finger. It's.
Oh, yeah. Apple Intelligence coming to the watch. I can't imagine that going well.
If you thought your battery life was bad now, no. I mean, it's gonna. This is all off the iPhone, right? Like, so when you hear about stuff like things you're doing with AirPods too, it's like, yeah,
that's not running.
But it's all gonna be, it's iPhone based, right? It's the Apple version of a wearable, but that's fine, right? I mean, everyone who uses an Apple Watch has an iPhone, like, and
that's a bet you can make. That is,
yeah. I don't know what the use case is. No, I do know what the use case is, but I don't know what how common it is for anyone to be out in the world with like a cellular Apple Watch, not have their phone, and they can go, do calls and listen to music with their AirPods and whatever. And Apple Intelligence is not going to work like that because the chip in here came out of a box of Cracker Jacks or something. Like, there's no way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, well, the first thing you said there actually just raised my blood pressure a little bit. So for a while, I do have an LTE or whatever 5G enabled watch, and it's probably LTE.
Yeah,
I don't know. I had the previous gen too, so whatever number that was. And for the life of me, I could never get Spotify to work over the LTE connection while cutting. Like, I wanted. Here was the scenario. I wanted to cut my grass with my Apple Watch on and AirPods in, and not carry a phone. And it just couldn't pull it off.
I know a guy. I have a friend from France who goes into the city for the day, has meetings, and and that doesn't bring his phone. Like, this can work. Apparently, I'm fascinated by this. I am so compulsive.
Yeah,
I would bring two phones, before I would bring no phones.
Well, I'm just terrible with directions. I can't even trying to do like Google Maps or something on this watch.
Yeah, and then wait till you're 20 years older and you're like, oh, I can't even, couldn't see the map on my watch. I can't even see, I can barely read it as it is. Like the stupid, like, I need a Braille watch at this point. I don't know. Yeah. This is what happens when we do this like once every 2 weeks. Like,